Here are the 5 best multi-class dips in D&D, aka classes to steal a level or two from to make your build amazing. Paladin. Look, smites are awesome. Do we need to say more? Despite requiring 2 stats to be above 13, Paladins bring some heat as a multi-class dip, even with just 1 level. That gets you proficiency with martial weapons and medium armor. You can even grab heavy armor if you take your first level in Paladin before leveling up in your main class. You also get 5 lay on hands points, which aren't great for any kind of involved healing, but are perfect for one thing: exploiting the death mechanics of D&D. Because of how death saves work, if your friend gets knocked down, it just takes 1 point from your lay on hands to get them up and fighting again. This is called yo-yo healing. It's powerful, and you can do it 5 times. It's also great for picking up the healer after combat so they can heal everyone else. You can also use all 5 points from lay on hands to remove a poison or disease affecting someone. Sure, it's niche, but you will appreciate it when the 7 intelligence barbarian picks up an STI from the local succubus. Taking a 2nd level nets you a fighting style, access to 1st level spells, and the paladin's signature smite ability. This lets you trade in a spell slot for extra damage when you hit an enemy with a weapon attack. If you're playing any kind of melee focused build, smite just makes you hit harder. You also don't need to use paladin spell slots to smite, so taking this on an arcane trickster rogue or an eldritch knight fighter or a blade singer or a swords bard gives you tons of juicy spell slots to smite with. And if you crit, damn, things get crazy. Rolling 4d8 plus 6d6 on a critical hit sneak attack smite as a level 5 arcane trickster with 2 levels in paladin hits harder than meth. Also gotta shout out the Blessed Warrior fighting style, which gives you access to the Guidance cantrip. A cantrip so good, it's basically worth a multi-class dip on its own. Even for martial characters, with no other spell slots, you still gotta throw down the Bless spell here and there, or smite things twice a day. You can also exploit the critical hit mechanics by combining Paladin with Champion Fighter or Hexblade Warlock, because they have an expanded threshold for scoring critical hits. If you really want to crit often, which you do, find features that let you roll more dice or take more attacks. I'm talking stuff like dual wielding, or the Sentinel and Elven accuracy feats. Save your smites for when you score a critical hit, and then watch your enemies explode. Yes, that 13 strength requirement is annoying, but if you want your crits to be spectacular, pick up the armor and swear an oath to smash. Rogue. A single level dip in Rogue gives you expertise in 1 skill, and expertise is useful for everyone. Your Barbarian is now an insane grappler with expertise in athletics. Your Warlock is a devastating manipulator with expertise in persuasion. You also get Sneak Attack, which is just a free 1d6 damage every turn you hit someone with a finesse or ranged weapon. But it gets way better. If you take 1 more level, you get access to Cunning Action, one of the best, most broken bonus action abilities in the game. Dash, disengage, hide, no resource cost, every turn, awesome. This is the ability that makes monks cry. Being powerful in D&D comes down to action economy, so being able to do more stuff on your turn is always strong. Not dying is also powerful, and all of these bonus actions help to protect you. Also, a centaur with this can sprint 80 feet in a turn and still have their action to attack. But if you're in for 2 levels, why not 3? This doubles the damage of your sneak attack, grabs you a rogue subclass, and gives you steady aim, giving you advantage on 1 attack each turn at the cost of your movement. The Rogue Assassin subclass can combo with the Gloomstalker Ranger for a build that is so insanely strong and well known that it's practically a cliche. We've also chatted before about combining Soul Knife with Barbarian for a fantastic strength-based rogue. If you're playing a build with decent charisma, you really can't go wrong with the Swashbuckler subclass. You pretty much always have sneak attack available no matter the situation, and you can disengage for free as long as you at least attempt an attack roll on your turn. This frees up your cunning action to dash or hide every turn, which is very annoying for people trying to kill you. Being a coward is optimal. What can I say? You can also add your charisma modifier to your initiative rolls, making this an amazing option for any charisma-focused build, like a sorcerer, bard, warlock, or even paladin. Yes, rogue paladin is real. You will be critting more often thanks to the paladin's extra attack and the advantage from the rogue's steady aim. Also, just imagine the dopamine when you double your smite and sneak attack at the same time. I just don't get it, Doc. Every time I find a new D&D group to play with, they end up dying. Yes, because you keep murdering them. Well, they get on my nerves. Power gaming, meta gaming, getting blood all over my knives. Okay. But I'm starting to think murder might not be the right response. Yes, because you feel guilty. No, it's because I don't have anyone to play D&D with. Well, maybe you don't need a group to play. Why not try Obvious Mimic? Obvious Mimic? Obvious Mimic adventures are the ultimate solo D&D campaigns. Stunningly illustrated and ready to play right now. No maps, DM, scheduling, or minis required. Play any character you like, explore and test new builds and classes, or learn the game by playing so you can teach your friends. Weave your own path through interactive adventures like the Walls of Langston and the Secret of Oki Island, where your decisions have dire consequences. Fight monsters, cast spells, meet NPCs, and level up with loot and experience. That sounds great! Now give me 10% off or I'll tear out your spleen. Sure. Use code DNDShorts10 at checkout for 10% off everything. You're the best, Doc. I'm gonna go play D&D. Grab your epic adventures today from Obvious Mimic and grab 10% off using code DNDShorts10 at checkout, link in description. Cleric. There is a reason why so many multi-class builds have some form of cleric in them. It's just that good. For a single level dip, you get, at minimum, medium armor, shields, amazing cantrips, amazing first level spells, and a cleric domain subclass. Let's hover on this spell list for a second. Bless, Guiding Bolt, Healing Word, Cure Wounds, Inflict Wounds, Guidance, Toll the Dead. There isn't a build in the game that wouldn't love some of these. Your Cleric domain also gives you bonus proficiencies, like Heavy Armor, Martial Weapons, Heavy Armor and Martial Weapons, Tool proficiencies, Skill proficiencies, and another feature. And that's just at level 1. In fact, Cleric is the only class in the game that can get you Heavy Armor proficiency just for multi-classing into it, thanks to the Twilight and War domains. Taking 2 levels in Cleric also nabs you a Channel Divinity. These can range in value from decent to outright busted, depending on your choice. War Cleric's ability to give you plus 10 on a single attack is fantastic for any class that does big damage with single attacks. Death Cleric gives you a bonus 10 necrotic damage on an attack, which combos great with Undead Warlock, which regains hit points when they deal necrotic damage. Undead Warlock Death Cleric is also beautiful flavor. I have a friend who plays this exact combo. Knowledge Cleric grabs extra proficiencies for bards and rogues, or anyone who wants to be a skill monkey. Tempest Cleric, while a little underwhelming on its own, is a fantastic dip for any class that gets lightning spells. Bards, sorcerers, and wizards love this dip. And all of that's before we get to the truly busted cleric domains that Tasha's introduced. Twilight, and Peace. These subclasses are so good, they make basically all other forms of healing obsolete. Just check with your GM before you do this, because they are quite often banned. Cleric gives so much with just a 2-level dip, and you're still a full caster, so you don't sacrifice your spell slot progression. Honestly, it could be the best dip in the game. It is very close with the final 2 options. Warlock. Who'd have known that the king of making deals is also one of the kings of multiclassing? You get so much out of a Warlock dip, it's practically devilish. Like Cleric, you get your subclass right at level 1, giving you some powerful abilities, and access to the Warlock's unique Pact Magic feature. One spell slot might not seem like a lot, but since it comes back on a short rest, you can get a lot of mileage out of it. Use it as a Paladin for an extra smite, use it for a powerful pre-combat spell like Bane or Mage Armor, or use it to fuel your sorcery point addiction in the infamously broken Coffee Lock build. Like with Cleric, level 1 subclass features are nothing to scoff at either. The Undead Warlock gives you temporary hit points, immunity to fear, and the potential to frighten someone once every single turn with their Form of Dread. Genie gives you your own little demi-plane for storage and extra damage every turn. The Fiend gives you temporary hit points after every kill you make, and fine, yes, okay, I know why you're here, it's Hexblade. It's always been Hexblade. Hexblade is probably the best Warlock subclass if you plan on doing a dip. It lets you use Charisma for your attack and damage rolls with your primary weapon. This means you can min-max your little heart out, dumping those pesky physical attributes and going all in on sex appeal. Hexblade even lets you turn a non-charisma class into a charisma class. You can be a fighter who goes all in on the gun show. You can be a war cleric who casts spells with wisdom but hits things with charisma. I don't know why you would want that, but you can do it. One level is all it takes to gain access to Eldritch Blast, the best cantrip in the game. The damage on this thing is nutty, and remember, cantrip damage scales with your player level, not your class level. Eldritch Blast will power up as you grow, no matter what shape your build takes, but if you want to take this to the literal next level, just go to level 2. At second level, you get Eldritch Invocations. You can now buff that Eldritch Blast to absurd levels of damage with Agonizing Blast, or grab some options that are useful on literally any build. One of the more powerful options is Devil's Sight. Combo this with the Darkness spell, and most spells in the game can't even target you. All incoming attacks are made at disadvantage, you don't trigger opportunity attacks, and you have advantage on every single attack. Oh, and you've just doubled your available Warlock spell slots. Nice. There's a reason why Warlock is probably the most popular subclass to dip into. But seriously, try doing it with a class other than Hexblade. They're good, I swear. Honorable mentions. Gotta shout out some classes who didn't quite make the cut here, like Ranger, who get you a fighting style, martial weapon proficiency, and Hunter's Mark for some great damage. Hunter's Mark pairs especially well with classes that make lots of attacks, like Monk. That's an extra 3d6 to 4d6 damage every turn once you've got it set up, and start flurrying. Bards get Bardic Inspiration to help allies, Jack of all trades to help themselves, and skill expertise like Rogues, just a couple of levels later. Barbarians are an underrated multiclass because they can't cast or concentrate on spells while raging. But you can get around that. There are good spells that don't require concentration, especially if you pre-buff yourself before raging. Barbarian Bladesinger is a thing, the Rage Mage is real. Sorcerers also kick ass. They are another class where you get your subclass at level 1. That means instant access to a ton of abilities, cantrips, and powerful spells, and later on, meta magic. But none of those are the best. We've got to talk about Fighter. Any of the top 3 entries could have been number 1, but Fighters get access in their first 2 levels to features that every class in the game loves and open up room for so much busted crap it's completely unfair. At level 1, you get proficiency in everything relating to combat. Medium armor, weapons, shields. If your first level is in Fighter, you also get heavy armor and proficiency in Constitution saving throws. That's gonna buff your concentration checks for holding onto spells if you plan your main build around a spellcaster. You then get access to a fighting style, the biggest list available to any class in the game. Grab defense for extra AC, blind fighting for blind sight, and superior technique to access the entire Battlemaster maneuver list. And if that weren't enough, you also get second wind to recover some hit points as a bonus action. Let the healer do something cool, you got this. But obviously it's level 2 that makes Fighters the god tier dip, because of Action Surge. This breaks the mechanics of the game. Cast a spell. Action Surge. Cast another spell. Yes, you can do this. It's allowed. Stop telling me that you can't do this. Although when 1D&D drops, if you use those rules, you will not be allowed to do this. But you don't have to double spell. Just taking 2 full attack actions, attacking 4 to 6 to 8 times, is really good. Every class in the game can benefit from this, usually massively. The double spell thing lets you set up some literally unbreakable combos, like Force Cage plus Cloud Kill at higher levels. If you want, you can take it all the way up to level 3 and grab a fighter subclass, like Battlemaster. That gives you access to a ton of maneuvers which elevate any martial character in the game. Or you could just go Champion Fighter for a very simple boost to your critical hits, if you're doing the crit fishing Paladin rogue thing. It makes sense that Fighter would be the best class for martial characters to dip into, but it's funny that thanks to the heavy armor, the con saves, and the action surge, they're actually the best class for spellcasters as well. If you're looking for games to try out some of these crazy builds, why not check out the D&D Shorts Patreon, where I upload one-shot adventures every month. I also run games on there and create new races, subclasses, rules expansions, and tons more. It also really helps out the channel. Also remember to like and subscribe, check out other videos on the channel, and yeah, that's all I got. I'll see you next time.